pleasure to welcome Father Jonathan Durley. I hadn't met him before today. I had lunch with him. I enjoyed his company very much, and I'm sure that we can look forward to a very good presentation. So with me, will you give him the usual warm welcome that we give Reverend Jonathan.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's lovely to see you all. Some new faces and some very familiar faces as well. And it's great to be here at U3A. I was always aware of U3A when I was in Porthcawl. Was that 5 years ago now? I never came to any of your meetings, so I know you do wonderful things. At the moment, as Doug said, I'm parish priest at Kenwick Hill, but I'm also community development officer for the diocese. Which is a bit of a strange title really, but really what it involves is working right across the diocese, which covers from Neath to the east side of Cardiff up to Merthyr, and then Porthcawl's probably one of our most southerly parts. It's quite a big area. And we have 10 deaneries, and in those deaneries we have about 120 parishes, should we say. And my responsibility really is to actually work with parish communities to be able to develop or help them develop community projects. Now that could be anything, it could be as wide as whatever you want to decide or define as being community. But really it's trying to encourage the churches to be able to actually listen to their community, find out what the needs are, and to be able to see what they can do to make the church a more active presence. And as you're sure you can imagine, at this time where there is an awful lot of need, in this time of austerity, there have been lots of cuts in terms of public services and also some voluntary services, that there's a lot of unmet need going on. And what I'm going to do this afternoon is show you a few excerpts of different projects that are happening within the diocese. Some are long-standing projects, others are quite very new. And some of the projects also, even since these different DVDs have been produced, have actually evolved into something much greater, and evolved into something very different. Now it's all under the title of a thing called Seven Sacred Spaces. And as Doug mentioned, I'm a church army officer as well as being a priest. And Seven Sacred Spaces actually came from the church army. Are you all aware what the church army is? Okay, for those of you who know, Church Army is actually the Anglican Church's Society of Evangelists. You will all know of one very famous Church Army officer, who he was. It was Terry Waite. Terry Waite was a Church Army officer. And they're in all various different sort of contexts and different places. And Church Army works right across the world as well. So we've got sister organisations in Denmark, Jamaica, Barbados, East Africa, Australia, New Zealand, America, as well as Church Army UK. And it's a very active organisation. It's been going for 126 years, and it was founded in London by a priest who actually recognised that the poor in the slums of Westminster basically had no contact with the church, or the church had no contact with the poor in the slums. And so this priest decided to actually form something which would actually enable the church to actually have contact and develop connections, whether it be through providing worship services or whatever. And they actually ended up developing work with homeless, work with prostitutes, work with young people, work with the elderly, all sorts. And during that time, it has evolved into something, quite a very great organisation. And that's what brought me to Wales, because I was running the hostels we had in Cardiff, which is still going, and I know you in Porthcawl support us very well. And the Seven Sacred Spaces comes out the Church Army's research unit. So we have a research unit which actually looks at current trends in the communities. And the person who directed that went to the sabbatical a few years ago and decided to actually look at where holy spaces exist within different communities, and had this thing that if you go back to ancient times where we used to have monasteries all over the country, those monasteries would be divided into different areas. And he came up with 7, and the 7 being, I can never remember them all, but the 7 being a refectory, chapter, cell, library, garden, chapel, and cloister. Those are different areas of the monastery to make it a monastery which was efficient and effective. And George, who actually wrote this research, then decided to actually see, well, how can this be applied to the church? And produced a booklet looking at how this could actually be worked out in the church, and not just in churches, also in other institutions and in all sorts of communities. And then this diocese came across this research and thought, well, actually, this could be a very good thing for us. And so a few of us got together and actually developed a pack which we take out to churches, and was helping churches to actually rediscover, reveal more about God's kingdom through 7 sacred spaces. And we call it a lens. It's a lens through which we can actually help parishes and their communities to actually think about where they are strong in what they do in terms of 7 and where they're maybe a little bit weaker. And we have not just done it in the parish communities, but also we took it into prison as well. I'm sure, as mentioned, one of the spaces is cell. Well, I'm sure you can imagine in Park Prison they really know and understand the whole purpose of cell. But actually, cell in this context is about prayer. It's about where we actually have that space of quiet, that space of prayer and contemplation. And actually for the prisoners, they really got that. Because apparently when they're locked up in their cell, they feel safe. And they can get that quiet away from the noise. So it was absolutely amazing. It was really, really powerful doing it there. And the way I'm going to play this afternoon is actually we're going to look at each space, but backed up with each space is video clips of different projects that are going on across our diocese. I'll warn you beforehand that Kenwick Hill is on there. A bit about some of the work we're doing up there, and I can talk about that. I was hoping to have a colleague with me this afternoon. Unfortunately, she broke down on her way out to Cardiff, so she hasn't been able to come with me today, because she's also somebody who works with me in helping parishes develop their different projects. Well, the first space I want us to look at is refectory. And if we think about refectory, what sort of words come to mind if I say refectory? Food, absolutely. Okay. Okay, and when we offer food, what are we providing? Sustenance. Hospitality. Yeah, brilliant, wonderful. And the 2 projects that, the one project that's under the refectory is sort of quite an unusual and sort of a new project, which actually, this was all made 2 years ago, so I said things have moved on. It's actually based in Penarth, this one. And they're not, you'll see throughout the afternoon that the different clips that I show are in very, very different communities. They're not all based around Cardiff and Penarth or wherever. They're based in very different communities. But this one's based in Penarth. And the introduction to each space is the rector of Aberavon, actually just giving a little prelude to explain what each space is. We're going to look at refectory to begin with. Just hope this technology works.
Refectory is all about hospitality. It's about eating. It's something that I think the vast majority of us enjoy. It's about socialising. And the clip that you're going to see in the DVD is about how people are brought together to socialise, to enjoy hospitality, and have thereby been introduced to new perspectives of faith and new ways of worshipping.
All Saints is situated in Penarth, which is a town just outside Cardiff on the coast. The church itself is in the residential area and is surrounded by homes with young families and elderly people, a good mix of people really.
We're a church that has a very strategic place right in the middle of Penarth, here in Victoria Square. And we also have a wonderful, lively congregation who are willing to participate. We've begun to look at what are the potential for looking at 7 sacred spaces in the idea of both what we do within the church and also what we do outwards.
Well, we're just clearing up after our second session of Toast in the church. We've been running it for some years, but we've moved it into our new church setting. I've always been passionate about working with young children and young families. Sadly, my children are no longer young, but I thought it was really important in terms of trying to bring people into church to make friends and to have some kind of place where we could meet with young families in a very natural setting. I've done something in the past as a fundraiser, which was a sort of breakfast to which lots of young families came. And I thought, maybe this is the way that we need to move forward in our church.
My name is Jane Douglas. I'm a member of the congregation here at All Saints, along with my husband and my 2 young children. And I'm also part of the large team of volunteers here at All Saints. We've also set it up partly to have something that people who come to the church and have their children baptised can come back on a monthly basis, so we've got an ongoing contact with them.
Well, some of us get here very early and set up and start the cooking. And then we open our doors at 9 o'clock. When young families come in, we give them a breakfast, and we've got lots of exciting play activities for the children as well.
One of the really interesting things about Toast is how it encourages the whole family to come along. And what we're seeing at Toast is lots of dads coming along to be with the families and to play with the kids.
For us as a family, we find it's an environment where we can introduce our children to the church in a way which they feel very comfortable with.
I love the fact that we're all out the door at 9 o'clock. It's a great start to the weekend, and it's fantastic coming here to do it in a place of worship as well.
For us, it's just a really nice environment where Dad can get involved as well, because a lot of the time Dad's not involved in the week because he's working.
Saturday morning seems to be a good time because they come as a family with the dads as well. I think it's the draw of the bacon sandwiches.
I've lived here for about 7 years and never come to this church before for any reason, and just sort of opened my eyes to what's going on in the community and just sort of meet some people that I really live very close to me and I've never met before.
I think there's something very special about sharing food around a table. It gives you opportunity to chat to people, to get to know people. It's something that quite often can be lost in the very fast pace of life we live in.
It's a lot of work, but I think it's very simple and straightforward. We're not trying to do anything clever. We didn't do any long training or anything for it.
At Toast there is nothing specifically spiritual other than the team pray beforehand, and we use it as an opportunity to invite people back to other things that do have a spiritual content.
One of the nice things of doing this work has been seeing that the progression of some families who come to Toast, Messy Church, and are coming to our church services on a Sunday as well.
I've not lived in Penarth for a great deal of time, but it's really helped us to integrate into the community, to meet new people, and I think it's vital for that.
I'm doing this because I feel that it's what God wants me to do in this setting. I also really enjoy it and get a thrill from working with young families and people of all ages. It's great to be able to get to know more people in the local community and to welcome them into our church.
It's really encouraging to see other young families be involved and to see the church grow and to see other new people coming into that church family. That's really important for me.
Which is quite an unusual project, that one. It was something very easy to do, doing breakfast on Saturday morning for families in the community. And the amazing thing about that one is the fact Leslie, who helped coordinate it, she's actually married to the rector of Penarth. And she is now working with other parishes, which she has done with mine as well, started what we call Messy Church, which we do on a Sunday afternoon. And Messy Church is a new thing, well, newish, it's happened the last few years, but where it's actually bringing together, or inviting family. So children can't just come on their own, they have to come with an adult, so they come with who's got parental responsibility. And it's broken down to 3 sections of some sort of craft activity, worship, and then eating together. There's always those 3 things. So we've done it at Kenfig Hill. We've been doing it over a year now, and even on our first week that we did it, we had over 30 individuals came, which is not bad, a small village like us. In Canton, in Cardiff, in St John's Canton, which is just on Cowbridge Road, they started last September, and the first Sunday they did it, they had 160 individuals turn up. They were completely swamped. And it's interesting because I'm sure some of you may remember going to Sunday school years ago on a Sunday afternoon. And it's almost going back to that. And when I ask parents about why they like it, why they come, it's a dead time for us. We've got nothing to do. The shops are about to close. TV's not brilliant. There's no football and all things like that. That's all in the mornings. And so it's a bit of a dead time. It's too early to put the kids to bed. So 3 o'clock in the afternoon is brilliant. So it's work. And that's a sort of a spin-off from that one in All Saints. Now the next one that I'll show you is very much had a big impact on this county borough. And I'll tell you why once we've watched it. I'm going to be looking at chapter.
In monastic places, chapter is where the monks would come together to make decisions. We all have to make decisions in our lives every day. In the next clip, we see how a group of people, ordained and lay, came together to make decisions about how best to serve the needs of those who wanted to get married in church.
Some people just feel like they're being hypocrites.
I think many people think getting married in the church is going to be a little formal and old-fashioned.
Being married before and having 4 children, I felt that maybe I would be disqualified from remarrying in a church.
The last I went to church was when I was christened, so the actual thought of getting married in a church was actually quite strange to me.
We find that a lot of people think that because they don't go to church, they can't get married in church. And we want to dispel that as a rumour. We think obviously churches are wonderful places to get married, and we really want to tell people and show people that the vast majority of cases, that's still an option. Like all churches, we're looking for ways to re-engage with communities. As once was the case, churches were at the centre of the communities. And we were aware that there are a number of venues within our deanery where wedding fairs are held, so we thought, why not use that opportunity to engage with people very directly.
I think there's a common misconception amongst people these days that if you don't go to church, you can't marry in church, particularly amongst people my age.
We floated this idea then at one of our deanery chapters, a gathering of clergy from the local area, and people were enthusiastic, so we thought, well, let's drive it forward, form a small committee, 1 or 2 clergy plus 1 or 2 lay people, and really the whole process then has flown on from those meetings.
Our team is made up of both clergy and lay people of different ages and different genders, which has enabled us to make really good decisions.
I bought the confetti. I went for red because it was the same.
I think I've just been here to put a younger perspective on things. Colour schemes, ideas with regards to gifts.
Ideas are bounced about, people volunteer for various aspects of the whole process, and that way the load is shared and the work gets done.
fantastic. Seeing people come along and them saying, well, you can't get married to a church, and you say, yes, you can. And seeing the smile on their face going, I didn't know that, I didn't know that. Absolutely. It's been everything that we wished for, it really has.
So what do you think of the church having a stall on the wedding fair?
I think it's perfect, absolutely perfect, because we've never seen anyone here doing it. I just think with everyone being able to see and ask you questions directly, it's ingenious.
And how did you feel when you first saw the stall?
I was excited. I was really excited. I was like, I first of all was like, hang on, there's a priest. Oh my God, that's great.
I think what's happened in the chapter is all of us have brought our strengths. We've listened to each other, and so we've ended up with a multifaceted kind of response that maybe we wouldn't have had if one of us had gone out on our own.
I said before that started that it's had a huge impact on our borough. I'll tell you why. It's because suddenly, because that was done by Bridge End Deanery, and Porthcawl, Pyle and Kenvick Hill are not part of Bridge End Deanery. But suddenly, after that wedding fair, we will start getting an increase in the number of applications for weddings, because people have been to the wedding fair. I couldn't work out why, because Kenvick Hill hadn't had many weddings for lots of years, many years. We're now averaging about 5 or 6 a year, which is amazing for us. But we couldn't work out why until I suddenly saw that DVD. That's why people have been going to the wedding fair. But it is great, and it's wonderful, because actually it's demystifying about the whole thing about church weddings. And we do have the doves and all sorts of other things, and they have miraculous at wedding last week that we had, all sorts of things. And we want to make it that it's that couple families day, and try and make the process as easy as possible, because it's not an easy process having a church wedding, but it is great. And people do get confused. And the other thing is, actually, we're cheaper than hotels. I don't know whether you've ever actually had to look at a hotel wedding, but they charge you per guest, who can be at the ceremony. And we are considerably cheaper. So couples like that when they come to us. And the other thing we've been doing is people, we had a bride a few years ago who've got these beautiful pew ends, the organza with huge diamante medallions on them. Lovely, very simple. And she left them with us. Well, I think they've been recycled now for about 7 or 8 weddings. So, which has been absolutely brilliant to do. And particularly because I had, for the first time, certainly in my ministry, I married 2 widowers who were in the mature years, should we say, a few weeks ago. They both come to church anyway. And it's great because we were able to reuse these things and sort of basically make the wedding a bit more economical for them. But the funny thing was, actually, I never had to preside the marriage of 2 mature people, should we say. They were so nervous at the rehearsal. So I said, I don't know why you're so nervous. You've been through this before. But they were. Anyway, it was good. But no, it's been really good actually having that wedding fair. And people have responded well. Actually, it's great to see the church being taken part, something like that. Now, the next one we're going to look at is library. Now, at the moment, there's lots of the different library services in different local authorities actually looking at ways in which they can actually rationalise their services, so they can actually embrace the cost-cutting that they have to do. And this one came about because there was public transport cut to the place where this library is based, so it meant that the people in the village couldn't get to their local library as often as they wanted to. So the local community actually took on to actually start their own. And this has sort of almost been taken as an example for other local authorities, particularly in Cardiff at the moment. But we'll look at that one. Done.
This is the 7 sacred spaces we call library, which in monastic days would have been called the scriptorium. Not just a place where they would learn, but a place where they would write out some of the great manuscripts. Here in the DVD, in this clip, we see people getting together to study in a living faith group. Throughout the diocese, people are engaging in learning in different ways. They're using things like this DVD and the 7 Sacred Spaces workbook. They're using things like the Emmaus course and the Alpha course and the Diocesan Living Faith group in order to enhance their understanding of faith and their knowledge of God. The diocese wants to help us learn, so it's brought us together with a thing called Living Faith. For want of a better term, it's a study course, but you mustn't be frightened by the word study, because you don't have to be clever, you don't have to have degrees. You might have left school an awfully long time ago, but there's nothing in this course that can't help you to discover new things about God, new things about your faith, whether it's from church history, from prayer and spirituality, whether it's about learning more about the New Testament and how it came to be written and why some of the things are there that we take for granted in the Bible.
Thomas from the 16th century, but a 17th century guy who you will know as a hymn writer.
Throughout the diocese, there are small groups and large groups of people meeting with a leader and simply talking together through each chapter of the course.
The way the course is structured is you can take as much as you want and you can give as much as you want. So if you want to delve deeper and do extra reading, you can do that, but you can still get a lot from each session by just doing the weekly course materials.
As a retired teacher, what did appeal to me most was the group work. Because although we see one another on a regular basis, we rarely sit down and talk about what we individually believe.
I enjoyed the fellowship with everyone, getting other people's inside views of their faith. I think it's a great therapy to talk about your faith.
I understand throughout the diocese the feedback on Living Faith has been incredibly positive. Those who've experienced it in different communities across the whole of Llandaff Diocese have found it to be very helpful.
The most interesting part of the Living Faith course was the historical side, where we were given an insight into how it all started. And as an Anglican from a child, I found this fascinating.
I think the best thing I got out of the Living Faith course was an understanding of spirituality and how I could use that in my life, and I went on from that to complete the whole Diocesan Spirituality course, which took a year, following on from having done that first module, which introduced me to the idea.
I wasn't interested in doing the Living Faith to the written level because I've had enough of essays, etc. So I just wanted to learn and talk and discuss, and that's what it enabled me to do.
It certainly builds your faith, which for me is the most important thing. Takes you further along the road of your faith.
I think the course is really good because people are often unsure of exactly what they should believe because there's so many different opinions within the church as to what is our correct belief. So the chance to have time to discuss with other people and find out what is our true faith, what we believe, what's sort of almost optional and what's important.
It does require discipline, it does require time, and you obviously haven't slipped as I have slipped.
Today I've come to Christchurch in Rada to be presented with a certificate from the Archbishop of Wales for successfully completing all the modules of the Living Faith course. Absolutely fantastic. It was a real chance to gel together with other people on the course to get different ideas about our faith and understanding that other people have with faith.
Yeah, it felt great because 6 modules we've done, and that's taken a lot of sort of commitment to continue. But it's something that I always wanted to finish.
In 7 Sacred Spaces, the library reminds us of learning. And Living Faith is just one attempt to encourage people to take seriously the need for learning in that 7 Sacred Spaces library section. You don't have to do Living Faith. You can do an Alpha course, you can do an Emmaus course. Your parish may come up with its own course. Whatever it is, it's all part of Seven Sacred Spaces.
For anyone thinking about the course, I would really recommend it because it has taught me so much about my faith and it's introduced me into a much deeper relationship with God, which permeates my whole life.
Sorry, I thought that was going to be about the library. We were also watching about the library. It is the library area, looking at that whole thing about teaching and learning. In fact, that last person speaking there, she's just about to be ordained priest. So that shows how she's moved on. But there are lots of different courses going on. I mean, the main aim of actually showing library, or exploring library of the parish is to actually look at the learning, to look at ways in which they can develop their learning opportunities. Now, when I was having lunch today with Handel, I was listening to a discussion about gardens. Apparently you've got keen gardeners. I know some of you are keen gardeners, there's no okay. Now, the next one I'm looking at is garden. Now, if I say to you, is gardening enjoyable or not, who would say it's an enjoyable hobby? Most of you. Anybody think it hard work? Yes. it is. Well, gardening in the monastery is that element of work. And when I said that George actually did this research, the guy who wrote Seven Sacred Spaces, he actually spent part of his sabbatical going to around 4 different monasteries, or 4 different communities. He looked at the Franciscans in Hillfield. He went to the Northumbrian community on Holy Island, which is a very new community. And he went to 2 in France. One was Taizé and the other was a Benedictine community. And this is very much a Benedictine thing. And gardening in a Benedictine monastery is that time in the day, and it's that area of activity which they consider work. Because St Benedict believed that the day needs to be divided up into certain parts, and there needs to be opportunity for work. And so if you think about a monastery garden, they grow vegetables, they grow fruit, they grow all the things they basically can need and survive throughout the year. I know this because my aunt was a Benedictine nun and she was in charge of the garden. And so it's her responsibility. When she died, all the sisters were panicking because none of them were very much into horticulture, so they all had to go on courses and learn very quickly. And so this next one is looking at a place in Fairwater. I'll talk more about it once we watch it.
Garden. Well, monks used to work in their garden, bringing in herbs as well as vegetables. A lot of us don't use our gardens today. What it means for us in Seven Sacred Spaces is work. Work within the community, work with the community, work sometimes started by the community, in which the church has a minimal but nonetheless important role. Here are 2 clips. The first of St Peter's in Fairwater, providing the community with a garden resource, somewhere that the people can come and sit and relax, the transformation of waste ground into something that is immensely useful. And the second is how the church supports Vision Products in Porthcawl by buying their products as they seek to help people who may not otherwise have been able to find work.
And then 2 of you did as a full. We started with gardens first because we think that was the most important aspect of it, bringing people together with nature. before we actually then developed the hall. We needed to see how people interacted, how people would come forward and look at nature and think, yes, we can do this. But we get a cross-section of the community, from the very young to the very old. They've all come together.
Well, I think, when I came here at the start, it was just chaotic, but the work's been done is excellent.
Actually, I've just come along as a helper, but I'm really enjoying it.
I think I hope the people in the community will come here and enjoy it, and it'll be like their own personal secret garden.
The garden's actually back on to the local primary school. As they've seen the garden grow, they've taken a great interest in it.
It's just a fantastic first-hand opportunity for the children to learn things, to see things, touch them, experience them.
The most exciting part of this is the pond. They've also got one of their assistant teachers on a forestry school activity training, and they'll be coming in here, their eco group, and they'll be using the grounds.
Because it's a bit tricky taking them up into a woodland setting, but that's the ideal place, to have your forest school. So this is just heaven for us.
Well, I like all the flowers and like the colours and that. It's a bit concerning that it's a bit dead, and I think that needs a little bit of work.
We also have connections with the Young Offenders group, the yacht as it's known.
They mix with some of the older people, perhaps they wouldn't have the opportunity to do outside in their normal life. And they get to help out, and they see that the enjoyment that the people get from the garden and the project.
Everybody is welcome. Every section of the community has taken part in the gardens. And wow, it's a warm feeling, it's a nice feeling to think that all these people can come together under one roof and achieve what we've achieved here.
Is a supported business, so that means we provide sustainable employment for people with disabilities, and we employ roughly 80 disabled employees.
We're a manufacturer of high quality UPVC products, windows and doors. Our main customers are social housing, Church of Wales, local education people. I know every one of those windows, how they're made, where they're made, who made them, and I'm proud of the people who do it.
Another aspect of our business is the community equipment service, and this provides medical aids to the people of Rhondda and Taff.
The criteria we use when we're cleaning and refurbishing equipment, if you wouldn't want it in your property, neither would anybody else.
It's very rewarding working with people here as well with their disabilities, and makes you realise, you're part of that, you're helping them out. The team work well as a team, and it's nice to be part of a team that works and corresponds and is recognised for doing that as well.
Well, I feel that it is a community. It isn't just employing people, it's mentoring them and helping them with things outside of work.
How has Carl helped you this year?
Well, kidney transplant last year. Carl went through it a few years ago, so I could ask him questions, and that's all I got to know about it.
So you've been helping Ian in this, have you?
Yes, since I've known his kidneys are failing. Ian's come to me with advice, asking me for advice, and I've been everything of my experience I've gone through.
Basically, because somebody has numeracy or literacy problems, it doesn't mean they can't hold a full-time job. All it basically means is somebody else fills in the paperwork.
Josh, he's dyslexic, he can't read all right, but he's good with his hands. So he's been a great help to me.
When I come here, I can even measure nothing. Nothing can do nothing. Boosted my experience up. I wasn't confident before, but now I am. That's great, this.
Nobody, one person is more important than anybody else. Even to the person, what you just cleans the basic things, to the supervisor of life, everyone is equally as important.
What do you think about your work? How do you get on with it?
Great, lovely.
And what about your workmates? How do you get on with people here?
Absolutely lovely. My best friend Rodney, but
what I feel is the work we do, it's coming in and it's going back out.
It's not based on that kind of thing. And by doing that, I feel I'm doing something good.
All our employees come here and they feel they've been respected and they're worth something.
When you see somebody come in who has very little confidence, they find a job and they develop within that role, and then you see them physically change in front of your eyes, that's all the reward you need.
So what's the best thing about working here, do you think?
Everybody.
I said about the fact things have moved on since this was made a couple of years ago, and if you ever want to go and see the community garden in Fairwater, I really would encourage you to go. It's open to the public and it's part of the National Garden Scheme now, and it is, well, that just does not do it justice anymore. I mean, that was really at the start, and it was actually what they were getting ready for then was the arrival of Princess Anne, who actually came to open it. But there's now so many more parts of that garden. They've even just about finishing what they call a quiet garden, which is the other side of the church where people can actually go in that community and just have some space and quiet away from people and use it as a place for reflection. The other thing to say is that it's a real mecca for attracting different groups of all different backgrounds. And it's not in the most prosperous area of Cardiff. Fairwater can, parts of Fairwater are lovely, but that is quite near quite a big rough estate. And one of the projects that the diocese funded for that garden was to enable young people to go to help build some benches. Now you may think that's quite simple. And the reason why is because Ian, the project manager, in working with young people, realised that the young people he's working with didn't know where wood came from. So what he decided to come up with this project, go to the Forest of Dean, see the wood actually being cut down and sourced, and then the wood was then turned into material which could be used for these benches, which came about that high, because they had to be sunk quite a long way down into the ground in cement, so they become quite fixed. And that whole process took about 6 months, I think it was. It was an amazing project for young people. But the good thing about it also is the fact in the 2-3 years, maybe 3.5 years, the garden has been evolving. It's never once been vandalised. Because it's owned by the community. Everybody feels they've got an investment in it. And at one point, about 18 months ago, they ran out of budget to buy plants, and this got around the community, and people were bringing cuttings and all sorts of things from their own garden and leaving them for them to use. So it's a really fantastic partnership. But I say, do go and have a look at it if you're ever in that area, or if you want to go when they're doing the National Garden Scheme, because it's fantastic. And people, well, if I'm in between meetings in Cardiff and I want somewhere quiet to go and sit there and have a cup of coffee, they are hoping within probably the next couple of years to redevelop their hall so they can actually have training workshops and also a community cafe which actually uses the produce from the garden that they grow to become a bit of a... So there's that one. The next one I want to show you is chapel. And the chapel, of course, in a monastery is the whole place and focus of worship and where that worship base is. The two things I'm going to show you, one which is very rural, the other one is in my parish.
Monks and nuns don't have what we call a church, they have a place within the monastery called a chapel. We're very used to going to church. Public worship is absolutely vital to our life. And we want you to look at two examples of public worship done very differently. One traditional type of worship, which is Christmas and a carol service portrayed in an imaginative and immensely new way, and another of bringing the Holy Eucharist to people where they are, not actually inviting them to come to a traditional church building.
Well, Durley is it's a small, very remote village. Population of that bit of the parish is about just over 1,000 people, so it's quite a small community. It's only about 10 miles from Cardiff, so you can see Cardiff glowing in the distance, and you might feel like you're in the middle of nowhere, really out in the wilds. It's not like that at all. And lots of people commute into Cardiff. Obviously, Cowbridge is the market town nearby. A lot of development around Pontyclun at Trwslan-Tristans. We're only just 2 miles from the motorway, so many people go out to the village to find their work. But in some senses it can be a bit of a dormitory town.
My name is Tina Ride. I was the first female warden at Pendoylan Church, but I'm now chairman of the Parochial Church Council at Pendoylan.
About a dozen years ago, we realised that 2 or 3 of us were gathering together to set the crib up on Christmas Eve. We thought, well, let's do it a bit differently and start inviting some of the families to come along and join us.
The wonderful crib service came about after a discussion between Edwin and I. And it's just gone from strength to strength.
It's become a bit of a spectacular. We get up to 200 people in a small medieval church in the Vale of Glamorgan.
The service is targeted at families.
This type of service is a great way to worship together with your friends and your family. It's like, almost like a little mini party almost, but it still like goes through the nativity, and it just like explains it in a more like interesting, fun way.
We use things like contemporary music to introduce the crib figures. We use some special effects. It's nothing terribly spectacular, but it's perhaps a little bit out of the ordinary when you see it in a church setting.
I reckon the stars are invited to it. Stop, have a look up into the sky. Have a look around us at the things of our lives, the people we love. Above all, the things of God's love all around us.
An angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream and said, Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take Mary as your wife.
When you look at the congregation, therefore, and you see their jaws dropping in astonishment as the crib figure of Joseph is carried into the clash singing, should I stay or should I go? But it actually gets to that profound question, what on earth was going through Joseph's mind? It isn't just about seeing the Christmas crib, a bit like a family photo on the mantelpiece. It's about being invited into the real life experiences of all those figures.
I like the fact that they tell you about Christmas isn't just about the presents, it's also about Jesus when he was born.
Our vicar, Father Adam, always interacts with everybody, and he's not just reading stuff from the Bible, he's got props and everything.
I like the bit where everyone is very quiet, and then there's a stable, China stable, and they have to carry Jesus and Mary and the donkey and shepherds, the wise men and Joseph all down one by one.
What do your family think of the service?
I think that it's really good and it gives you the Christmas spirit.
It's great to see my pupils being involved as well as their families and the impact that it's having on the wider community.
And what's your very favourite bit?
Towards the end, where there's like the music and we have these like party poppers and we like pop apart, and it's like really fun.
I like the end in when all the fake snow and the music comes, and it looks really funny on other people.
You could go into any church and you could look at their worship and it'll tell you something about those people, something about that community, about the journey that they've walked together over time. You could come to Pendoylan on Christmas Eve, come along to not the midnight mass, and you'd see something of the journey that we've walked over the last dozen years. What you can't do is take what we're doing here and put it in a box and take it somewhere else, because it simply won't work. It's particular, it's special to us in this community. And so I think I encourage any Christian community, say, look hard at your worship. Allow yourselves to be invited into the mystery of God's love. Take a chance on God in that sense, and just see where that worship might lead you.
I'm Jonathan Durley. I am the priest in charge of the parish of Porthcawl, which includes St Theodore's Church and St Colman's Kevin Cribbou. The parish of Porthcawl is a wonderful community, very, very mixed. because it's divided between Kevin Cribboot and Kenvick Hill. Kevin Cribboot being a bit more rural, Kenvick Hill a bit more of a village, but a growing village. It's a mixture of young and old. There's a very alive community with lots of community groups, lots of organisations which people can join in on. I came to Kenvick Hill a year ago, and when I came, the people were very welcoming, they were very enthusiastic, and it was a great time because it was the time when the new shop was about to be opened. Theo's is our parish shop. It is unique to the village because it's the only charity shop in the area. It sells good quality second-hand clothing, bric-a-brac, it has books, and people can come in and spend time just reading if they want.
We've had a charity shop of one sort or another for 12 years. But we sold our church hall and we were able to buy these premises and consequently do them to our own satisfaction.
St Theodore's Church, which is the parish church, is actually at the top of the hill, just outside the village. And just like the church, the old shop was actually just at the top of the village as well. And the church was very keen to ensure that we actually had a presence right in the centre of the village, which is why the new shop was actually developed.
In an original shop, it was simply just a shop that sold second-hand clothes and goods. But having had that experience, we realised that there was a greater need to be filled. So what we needed to do was find some way that we could engage with people. And so the new Theo's was designed to do that.
When we opened Theo's, we had the opportunity to actually develop a community space in the back. And we thought, well, how can we extend our hospitality rather than just being a place which sells stuff? So we actually installed a coffee shop where people can meet together.
The first thing we have to discuss is our Mothers Union yearly donation. My name is Christine Portsmouth and I am branch leader of St Theodore's in Kenvick Hill. Our branch has been going now, this year is our 90th year, and we hope to have a celebration for that.
So what does it actually mean to you to have a place like Theo's to meet?
Oh, I think it's very, very good. It's excellent. It's somewhere nice and warm and very relaxing, and we can have a cup of coffee as well. And it's easy to get to, and as I say, it's a very, very good place to meet. Holy, holy, holy God.
Another opportunity we had in Theo's was to be able to bring what we do in church nearer to the community and put it in the centre of the community, which we have done by putting our midweek Eucharist in Theo's every Wednesday at 10 o'clock. It's been far more accessible for people, and in fact our numbers have grown through that. And not just people who are regulars, but actually fringe members who are inquiring, who are searching, and there's been an opportunity for them to come and join in our public act of worship.
We knew that there were opportunities for mission, we knew that there was certainly a great amount of need in our locality, and it's very easy sometimes to sweep what we don't want to see under the carpet. But when you see young mothers coming into a shop, buying second-hand clothes that perhaps are 25 pence or 50 pence, and they ask, will you put them away until next week, till they can afford to pay for them, then there really is a real need.
Theo's is also a place of hospitality where people can feel as though that they are part of something bigger. I believe we are enjoying a greater degree of connection because we have such a wonderful group of people who've come alongside to serve at Theo's, who are willing, they're enthusiastic, they have a vision to see the church very much at the centre of the community. And not just a church that just worships, but a church that serves, and a church that seeks to engage with other people. And that, I believe, is a really special thing that is being achieved here. There's two very different ones I know, it was my parish. But the interesting thing about that excerpt was that shop has been a real catalyst in terms of for community involvement, because in addition to what we do during the day, we're open 5.5 days a week, we also got a craft group that meet on a Tuesday evening, which is growing, and we also have the local shout group, the local shout group for Kenvick Hill, and ladies love it. because they get a good cup of coffee, but it's also a place they can gather, and we don't charge them, so it's wonderful. But it's been a real catalyst for us, and what the local community and the local commerce say, we've actually increased the footfall for their businesses, because people are actually seeing it's a reason to come shopping in Canfield Hill. So that's good. Conscious of getting coffee and tea arriving. The one next I want to show you is there is a connection with Porthcawl in the sense you'll recognise the clergy person involved, Mrs. Cloister.
The cloister is the place where we encounter other people. It can be people who don't have much to do with the church, but are somehow regarded as being on the edge. A bit, I suppose, like those who come for baptisms and weddings. They don't necessarily come every week, but they do want the church to be there. In the next clip, we've got 3 examples. The first clip of St. Martin's in Roath shows a glass panel on the outside of their church building. People can see in, and the church people can see out. It reminds each other that they're there, and they're very much part of a community with which we need to engage. In one of the other clips, a church has given over its building in the parish of Pembroke Hyber in order to engage properly with the community. It no longer has sole use of a church building, though it is used regularly for worship, and you'll see the parish priest setting up things for their mass. In the other clip, we find the church working with teenagers in a sort of cafe culture style, which may not necessarily appeal to everybody, but teenagers are as much a part of society as everybody else. And we need to consider, in our own setting, what cloister means to us when we've watched this DVD clip.
Do you recognise anybody in that?
Yes.
Who was it? Father Irving. If the first clip was Martin's Road, where Father Irving, who was a curate here in the 80s.
Yes.
Yeah. Is now. I'm going to show you one last one, which is the Ely Orchestra Project. Now, Ely Orchestra Project, Jan will explain, who's the parish priest there. She was a professional musician, and she worked for probably, if you remember a few years ago, there was that guy who basically went berserk in Cardiff one Friday afternoon and actually knocked children, yeah. So that's actually her parish. And she it was her church that everybody went to afterwards to just try and find some solace. But she's got the most amazing story, which she just won an award, and it was presented to her by the Prime Minister a few months ago. And I really want to show you this, because this is something that's going to grow. It has grown considerably.
My name is Jan Gould, and I'm the priest in charge in the parish of Ely, which is in West Cardiff. It's a very socially deprived area with very high crime levels, high unemployment, high number of families living on benefit, very major poverty-related issues in the area. Quite a challenge. Before I was ordained, I studied at Trinity College of Music in London. I did a 4-year performance course and then was awarded a scholarship for a 5th year studying chamber music with a string quartet that I played in. And then when we finished college, we turned professional. Prior to that, I was in a youth orchestra in my hometown, which consisted of about 1,200 children in different sections, and did that for many years, from the age of about 11 until I went to college. It was about 4 years ago, I was watching the proms, and there was a youth orchestra from Venezuela playing, and these children, it turned out, had come through a project called El Sistema, which had been set up in Venezuela about 30 years ago. There was a politician there who'd become quite disillusioned with what was happening in his country, the number of children living on the streets, addicted to drugs, no apparent future for them. And being passionate about classical music himself, he literally took 12 children off the streets, and for 5 days a week they learned the violin all day. And now, 30 years later, there's about 500,000 children in this project. Many of them have become professional musicians. And in fact, 3 years ago, the Berlin Philharmonic appointed its youngest ever player, a 17-year-old violinist. And when this lad was 11, he was on the streets of Venezuela hooked on heroin. And in 6 years, he's become a professional musician with one of the best orchestras in the world. And I thought, if they can do this in Venezuela, we can do it in Ely, which in many ways is quite similar in its social makeup. I initially made contact with the head of outreach at the Royal Welsh College of Music and Drama, because I knew that students had to do outreach as part of their degree, and that would be a cheap way of getting some quality help into the project in terms of teaching and performing.
Jan approached me at the Royal Welsh College of Music and Drama, and I thought it was a very good idea to get the students involved in this project, because it is quite an intense way of teaching, and the students are not really aware at the college of that sort of teaching. And so by being a mentor to them and getting some of my colleagues in from Welsh National Opera and around, we could actually help them to develop that idea.
I just love seeing how the children progress throughout the week and how enthusiastic they get and how inspired they get, and that makes me feel inspired too, really, to continue with my musical adventures as well. So.
We set up our initial pilot project in Herbert Thompson School, where there were already children learning, and we sent in some practice pals to mentor the children during the week, because they weren't allowed to take their instruments home.
It's just a really rewarding thing to do, and to hear the children say really nice things about the project. One boy yesterday said, I learned so much more here than I do at school, which was lovely to hear.
Over the years, we've noticed a real improvement in the children's behaviour in school generally. Teachers comment on it. One young boy who was on the verge of exclusion now wants to be a cellist when he grows up, and he's a model student. So that was our first pilot, and then we set up Feel Good Fridays, which are monthly concerts in term time, performed by students from the music college. And they're very interactive concerts where the children get involved, talking to the performers and having a go on some instruments. And we bring about 100 children in each time from different schools, so we're deliberately mixing the schools and trying to encourage children to form friendships across school boundaries, which again breaks down the tribalism of the area.
Holly, there's lots going on here today. What are you doing?
I'm playing the cornet and I can't wait to do a concert.
So what, have you been here all week?
Yeah.
And what's been going on all week?
Well, we've been doing games, practicing with us and doing fun stuff.
So Craig, how long have you been playing the flute?
2 years.
And what do you enjoy about it?
You can make lots of different noises.
And where are the orchestra? What have you been doing here today?
Practicing some songs for when we prefer.
So you're a bit nervous about the concert?
Yeah.
Anyone you know coming?
Yeah, my nan and my Michelle.
Jan came to the PCC with the idea because Jan is very musical herself, and we just thought it was a good opportunity for the whole church to be involved.
The congregation have been very committed to the project, helping volunteering, providing refreshments for children. Whenever we put any kind of event on, they are the ones that come along and make the squash, make the toast, make the sandwiches. We also provide the venue for the project to take place and have become very much identified as the home of the project. And obviously as the project develops more, we'll be using more of the congregation in those roles.
We're not all musical, but we all understand that children can develop through music. So we were excited by it, and I think we're going to look forward to the promotion and the success of it, hopefully.
Funding is the major challenge that we face. So far, in 3 years, we've raised £28,000, and that's almost gone. So we're working now on a very big grant application which would sustain us for the next 3 years as we seek to expand and develop into further instrument groups of teaching. This week we've had a whole week of, we've called it Feel Good Summer Music. It began last year. We had 25 children came in for a week and they had a chance to try different string instruments and recorders. And now, because we've had more funding, we've been able to buy brass and woodwind instruments as well. So those who've come in as complete beginners have been able to try all of those different instruments over this week. Those that do play an instrument have been playing in an orchestra, and all the children are going to be performing in a concert on the last day, whether they're complete beginners or whether they're hardened or seasoned, I should say, year-long players. So it's been great fun. The highlights for the week have been seeing the children's faces when they realise they can do something that they never imagined they would. They arrived on the first morning, and as they come in each day, we have some of our staff who are either music students or professionals giving a mini concert, so the children come in and listen to the concert. And the first day they came in and they're like, oh, I could never do that. And now here they are 5 days later, and they're going to be performing in a concert in just a few hours' time.
But it's lovely to see you all, and I can promise you that you are a treat today.
I think a project like ours is really good for any community, but particularly for communities like Ely, because music teaches children all kinds of things. It teaches them discipline, it teaches them to learn to listen to other children, self-respect, it gives them self-esteem, it gives them aspirations of a different future, possibly. The parents are seeing what's happening with these children. They're becoming very proud in what their children are achieving. And last year we saw parents in tears at the concert at the end of our summer week. They had no idea that their children could do this.
So you've got 2 children here today?
Yeah, 2, yeah.
What are they going to play?
One playing the bongo and one playing the violin.
So, did they play the instruments before?
No, not at all.
So what's it feel like as a parent seeing them playing today?
Oh, it's fantastic. Really proud of them.
What did I think of it?
This is nice, they're playing nicely, and they're going to be in the concert. If I can come to see them, that's fine.
Well, it's not something that I would be able to afford otherwise, so it's a really good opportunity for them.
It's good to see the end product. You see it practicing constantly at home. unless, she's constantly playing the flute all the time. So to see her at the end of it all and come together is really good.
Could she win the cello before she starts this?
No, she's the first time she started. I think she started playing on Wednesday.
How do you feel as a father seeing her play?
Very proud of them, very, very proud of her.
I get huge personal satisfaction from this project because, as you know, I was a professional musician before I was ordained, and I had to have surgery that stopped me playing overnight, and my career just came to a crashing end in the space of 24 hours. And for many years then I couldn't play at all. And it seemed so cruel to me. Why had I been given these gifts of music and then to have it taken away like that? And I just couldn't understand what God was playing at, really. And the desire for music never left me. And so all the satisfaction that I had playing as a professional musician, I'm now finding again through doing this work in the parish, which is obviously running in parallel with all the other aspects of ordained ministry that I do.
What do you like about being in the orchestra?
That is all funny. You get to be able to make sounds in it.
Have you played cello before?
No.
So are you going to carry on playing cello?
Yeah, I'm coming back in September.
I did more in a week than I did in a year in my guitar lessons.
It gave me the confidence to play in front of all different people.
So the hope is in the long term, really, to build an orchestra for Ely and Kyra that the community can be really proud of and that can put Ely in a good light in the media, because we hear so many bad stories from this area in the press. And we want to show people that there's some really good stuff going on in this community.
Just a postscript from that, so since that project started, some of the young people who were involved at the beginning are now in the sixth form at school. And these were pupils who were not considered would be bright enough to even go to sixth form, and they're now looking at university, music colleges and all the rest. So it's absolutely stunning, and it's moving into other schools across Cardiff, so I can see probably within 10 years it'll probably be covering a much wider community than it is. I'm going to stop now, and if you've got any questions, but I hope that's given you a snapshot of some of the work that is going on in our diocese, and yes, so thank you for your time this afternoon. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Father. Are there any questions? I have 2 minutes now for questions or any comments you wish to make. The meeting is now open for that.
Can I just say one thing? Particularly about the music. Now, I taught music for years. Oh, thank you. I taught music for years, and now, apparently, the council has stopped doing music lessons in school for children, which I think is awful, because so many children enjoyed learning music, playing instruments in school, joining the youth orchestra, giving concerts. They used to give concerts in St David's Hall, and our daughter, they played in the youth orchestra. She played the oboe. And she went to Russia with the school, and I asked him, what was it like? All right. What was, they said, oh, all right. Yeah. But a week after she came home, she went to Ogmore Camp, the orchestra. So he said, what was Ogmore like? Great. She really enjoyed that, and so many children did, and had so much out of it. And to think that that is now going, I think is awful. So I think that project is absolutely superb. And to see what those children have done, I think is wonderful.
Yeah, I've got to say actually that I'm lucky in Kensington Hills. I've got very good junior primary schools who are very good at encouraging music. Unfortunately, that's not carried on post-primary. And we've had an increase in the number of children from our area coming to Porthcawl because you're so good in encouraging the performing arts and music. So But yes, it is becoming less of a priority, and yet music, drama, art, all those things really do inspire so many people. And yeah, it is, absolutely.
The church. Anyone else? Wait for the mic, David.
The garden at the church in Fairwater, was that in church ground?
Yeah. Yes, it's a strange story that, because it's just down the road from one of the hostels I used to run, T. Brunner. And when we opened up T. Brunner in Fairwater, Father Nigel, who was introducing all those spaces, he was the parish priest in Fairwater at the time. And he saw all this ground that's completely overgrown, been overgrown for 50, 60 years, and wanted to develop flats for the young people moving out of our hostel. Anyway, for various reasons it didn't go through, and we were all very disappointed and feeling very bit low about it. And then a new priest comes to that parish, and Ian, who was the project manager of the garden, came back from being in the forces. He was in the SAS, and he's a great mentor and all the rest of it, and saw this vision for this ground that had been in the wilderness for years. And so in many ways it was right that we weren't able to build those flats, because that project would never have happened. And it's amazing because it really has joined people together in that community. And I would say please go and have a look at it if you're passing. It is open to the public.
Thanks. Just the mic.
Well, Father, as you've shown these wonderful ways in which the church is reaching out, can I ask how this is intended to reflect the fundamentals of church teaching as distinct from doing quite simple good works?
Well, can you elaborate, please?
Just as there will be the Muslim church and comparative faiths that are around, let's say, the Cardiff area, and no doubt they will be seeking to promote good works there as well. I may go up to, as I was recently up in Ogmore Vale, seeing the churches closing, and the great worries and anxieties that we all have and we all share about churches closing. Now we're seeking to move out into the community. That wonderful showing that they had at the cloisters, how they looked out, conscious that we're inside, looking out. What more can we do? We've got out, we've expressed ourselves in every way. Is this shown in a structured form, in prayer at the beginning of the meeting, prayer at the end of these meetings? Are numbers increasing in the churches as a result of this? How do you get back to the fundamentals of that which is important, which is the Christian faith in our community?
I think what this is showing is the church doing, I can't say new things, because a lot of these things were done by the social reformers back in the 19th century, or even older, through the monasteries. I hope it brings us encounter, and it gives us that opportunity to be able to encounter, embrace, and to be able to share our faith in a way that we wouldn't be able to, because we cannot expect people to just keep coming. We cannot just expect people to come to us. They're not going to. You know, that's what happens. That's why I do my Eucharist in the shop, because people won't go and come through my church door, but they come to the shop, and there are people who come to that Eucharist, because we now get 19 on Wednesday morning. To show that there. And I've got at least 5 that come there on a Wednesday morning, so they like coming to the Eucharist, they value it, they treasure it, but they find it really difficult going through a church door. So yes, there are ways which, and I think what Jan's doing, that music, is expressing the very fundamentals of the church and our Christian faith through music. Does that make sense?
Yeah, fine, John. Okay. Anyone else? Well, if not, I would like to thank you on behalf of this audience for what you've done. I was impressed by the amount of work that you and your colleagues seem to be doing for our communities. It's amazing, and you obviously do far more than just preach from a pulpit every Sunday. How you have the time to prepare for a sermon on a Sunday, I don't know, with all the work that you've been doing. So, Father, you've certainly shone a light on this audience, and we are very grateful. So if you will accept this small token on our behalf.
Thank you.
Diolch yn fawr I chi. Thank you very much. And if there's no other business, let's enjoy some cakes.